All right, I'm Mike Morano back for DaemenWildcats.com and joined this week for our Where Are They Now alumni segment by former women's basketball player Lia Zahn. Lia played here from 2009 to 2013, 123 games played in that time, Lia, quite a few, top 15 all time in the program, and really was a key player during what was the end of our NAIA era. Start of the NCAA transition, helped this program to 94 wins in that time. Lia, thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. It's good to see some Daemen faces, bringing back some memories from a few years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's jump right into it. 94 wins, Lia, like I said, really, really successful part of our women's basketball program history you were directly involved in. What was your experience like playing basketball here at that time?
I would honestly say when anyone asks me about college, I always tell them, first of all, I am so excited that I picked Daemen because of the Burks, actually. Bridget Burke was one of the other alumni that introduced me to Daemen. And I always say that I don't understand how people go through school without athletics, because the one thing that I remember about Daemen is just the people I met through basketball, and basketball really kept me grounded every single year I was at that school. So I know academics is a huge part of it. Obviously, I always dedicated time to that, but Daemen was just such a big sports school, and especially with basketball, it was one of my favorite memories, and it always will be.
Now, tell me about, you mentioned Bridget Burke. She's one of the teammates that played with you. Tell me about the recruiting process. You came out of Canandaigua. How did you kind of land on Daemen's radar and vice versa?
So I was open to a few different schools, and then I think it was Bridget and her father approached me at we played a Buffalo school, pretty far in sectionals. I think it was my junior year, maybe sophomore year. And Coach Burke, Bridget's father, and Bridget came up to me. They were at the game, and they just said, "Did you guys ever consider looking at Daemen? We would love to get Lia on the recruiting list and, open our coach, who was Dave at the time, Dave Skolin, up to coming out and seeing her." And I loved the idea of Daemen being close to Canandaigua. It was about an hour and a half. So nothing too far, but again, not in the backyard of where I grew up. So it was a perfect distance for me because I'm such a family person. So if I needed to get home at any time, it was a very easy commute. So I actually went up and watched a few games with my father, my mom, my sisters, and the whole school just felt so welcoming. Bridget was there. She was playing. So it was also very comforting to see a familiar face. I knew the Burks because I played with Bridget's younger sister in AAU for a period of time. So I was very close with Coach Burke and that family. So honestly, Bridget introduced me to Dave. Dave started the recruiting process, and he came to quite a few of my games junior and senior year. And then it felt right. It was one of those things that it just clicked. And I had a conversation with Dave a few times just about my different questions, and he made me feel very comfortable with the decision. And I signed with Daemen and moved forward.
Now you guys end up going to the NAIA national tournament twice. Mm-hmm. Your sophomore and junior years. Tell me about that. What was that experience like?
I think it's one of those things where you can dream of going as far as possible in every basketball season. I mean, even in high school, you want to go as far as sectional states as far as possible. And when it comes to college, it's just it's one of those feelings where it's like, you're not going to play basketball after that. And after playing basketball my whole life since I was a little girl, you want to go as far as possible every year because these are your last absolute memories that you're going to have of the game. So it was amazing to 2 out of 4 seasons be able to go as far as we did. And it really gives me something to remember when I look back on my college years is we were a very successful basketball team. So, and, I ended my career on a high note, and that's something that I'll always have to tell my kids, my family, and remember.
You led me right into it. So your senior year, it was a little bit of a weird time, right? Because as I mentioned, it was kind of the end of our NAIA era. We were starting this transition to NCAA Division II. So I know your junior year was our last year in the American Mid-East Conference. So it was, I remember it being super important to that team. It was the last chance they were going to have to go to an NAIA tournament. You guys accomplished that. so then we're not postseason eligible, like for NCAA or NAIA your senior year. Imagine that was, maybe a little bit tough, but we entered into this USCAA, the United States Collegiate Athletic Association, kind of a national organization that's built for small colleges such as Daemen. And you guys end up going to that tournament and you win the national championship to, as you said, end your career on a high note. What was that like?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I remember that whole trip, that game, that whole weekend, just crystal clear. I mean, like I said, ending your basketball career after playing as long as I did and as hard as our team worked, we ended on a win. And I don't think many basketball players, no matter where you end up, can say that. So it was definitely just like icing on the cake. And I remember having a conversation with my parents, especially my father, because he was my coach for so long. And he's just saying, the ending that you had to this season is something that not many people get to experience. So you need to hold that close because it's a memory that you're going to have forever. And a lot of people, like I said, don't get to embrace a moment like this. So yeah, I'm definitely going to remember that weekend for a long time.
Now you're somebody, Lia. I'm interested in your mindset. So many players that go on to play in college. You were, having not seen you myself in playing high school, I'm assuming you were probably the star player on your team or one of them. Then you go to college, and not everybody can be the star, right? And I think you're a pretty good example of that. I think you were a complimentary player on these teams that won 20 plus games every year you were here. Tell me about your mindset. How do you shift to be and accept a role where you're okay coming off the bench and only getting a couple of shots a game?
I will say that was something that took me some time to get used to. I played up my whole life before college. So as a young, in travel years, I always played with my sister who was 2 years older than me. So I was always used to playing with the older kids and having to earn my spot. So that wasn't something that was super new to me to have to work hard to earn my position. But when you're at your high school, you're at your travel team, you always feel like you're the best around because you work so hard. Basketball is my sport. We did that so many days a week to where it was what I committed my time to. So I was very involved in the game. And like you said, in high school, it was me and my sisters, and we had a solid team there. My dad coached for so many years. So I really understood my role. But at the same time, I know that I had pressure on me to do certain things every game. So I had to show up. So transitioning that to college, it was a real quick wake-up call because I remember talking to my coach, Dave, early in the freshman, sophomore years, just asking what I can do to increase my playing time, having to get used to coming off the bench. And honestly, some games, freshman and sophomore year, I didn't see the floor because we had such a solid team. And that was very hard to get used to from someone I was a starter in high school. And, I played varsity most years. So it was a new situation to kind of adjust to. But it also kept me grounded and gave me something to be motivated for every single day in practice, because our coach believed that you show up in practice and you give him a reason to put you in the game, and he's always going to consider giving you a minute here and there to see what happens. So I would say it motivated me. It was definitely something to get used to, but it also kept me on my toes because there was never a day that you showed up and you were going to be guaranteed time. It was always competitive. And when you get to college, I think especially D2 and having such a strong basketball program at Daemen, every day you had to show up and you had to prove yourself, and you had to be on. And if you weren't, then someone else was going to come in and take your time. And that's what made it like such a fun game to play, is you really had the opportunity to earn minutes every day in practice for that game.
Well, I bring it up because I think you deserve to be commended for that that approach, because not everybody looks at it that way. The easy thing to do is to pack up your tent and go home. But you ended up being a part-time starter as a junior. You had a career year as a senior, statistically, and as we mentioned, helped that team win that USCAA national championship. So. And I know, just as an outsider or someone that was here watching, it was always a pleasure to watch you and your teams compete. You've I want to steer the conversation in a little bit different direction here, because you've mentioned your dad a couple times, and I remember him just from being at the games, and being such a big supporter of yours and the team. And I know he passed away fairly suddenly.
Yep.
Tell me about that. How much your dad really meant to you.
Yeah. I have to say that, life really changed pretty quickly, and it's made me a different person. It's something I continue to deal with every day of my life, and it's something that you don't expect. Everyone, I think, has this, vision of what life's supposed to look like, and something like that gets thrown in your way, and it really changes things up. So, someone who was my role model, my inspiration, my coach, I mean, he's the one who got me involved in basketball, and basketball has made me who I am today in all aspects of my life, even in my career. So having my dad on the sideline for all those moments and really teaching me so many different aspects of life, not even on the court, but as how to be a person, how to work hard. It has been, a very difficult year. He passed away a year ago, October 11th. So it's just been over a year. And like I said, it kind of flipped my world upside down. He was someone that kept me grounded every day, him and my mom. And I do have to say that the love he was able to give me in my 29 years of life is more than I think a lot of people experience in their lifetime. So on a positive side, I'm absolutely grateful that I was able to have a father like him. And I run into people every day that tell me how inspiring he was, how much they impacted his life. So those moments are good, but they're also bittersweet because there's not a day that goes by that I don't wake up and think about him all day long. And, there's moments that I'm going to have in my life that are going to be super difficult without him here. But I think it's just accepting the fact that I believe that God gives, people some challenges, and those people are the ones that can deal with it. And I'm strong enough to get through it. It's gonna be a different path than I ever predicted. So one day at a time, I'm learning to deal with it. But I've been very much changed by that loss and what he represented. I hope to become a person very much like him.
Well, I'm sure he's got to be awful proud looking down at everything that you've accomplished, Leah, because not only were you a part of this special program, these special teams here, you walk out of here in 2013 with a degree in business administration, specialization in marketing, and correct me if I'm wrong, you pretty much land a job right out of college, and it's the same company that you're working for now. Tell everybody watching what you're up to.
Yeah. I can't say I predicted this path. I graduated school, and shortly after I moved home, and one of my dad's friends actually, my dad was having a conversation with him. They were golfing one day, and it was at the end, I think, of my senior year when I was still in school. And he was like, what's Leah up to? I know she's coming home. What is she looking to do? And, my dad would always talk about his kids. And when they were golfing, he brought up that I was coming home, and I had a great interest in staying within some type of marketing profession. And his name was Chris. He said, Chris is like, Leah's always had a great sense of just a good personality when it comes to the marketing and good sense of what goes on in the industry. And he's like, I'd love to talk to her to see if she's interested in the industry that I'm in. He worked for CBS TV. So I came home one weekend, and my dad's like, I set up a conversation for you. I want you to go meet this guy. I think it'll be just good for your profession. So I didn't really know too much about this. I sat down with this guy that worked at CBS TV, and he's like telling me all about the job. And I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to feel, but set me up with an interview if you want. I'll send you my resume, and I'm more than happy to talk to your company. And if it fits, it fits, but no pressure on their side at all. So I ended up meeting with my boss at that time, who I still work with, but he actually does the same thing I do. He took a step down, and we just hit it off. And I loved everything they had to offer. I actually used basketball in my pitch. I do a marketing plan, and I use basketball as all the details of becoming a player, you know, time management, respect for the teammates, earning your position, all those things that we talked about before, shaping myself to pitch myself to get the job. And they loved it. At the end of the presentation, I actually signed like mini basketballs and gave it to them. And I was like, I hope you guys make the right choice. And I didn't even leave the room. It was my second interview. And they're like, you know, we don't usually do this, but it feels right. So they offered me the job. It was a rough 2 years. I'm in marketing and sales for CBS TV. So I work with business owners and I develop marketing plans for them on all different levels. So it's, you know, the commercials you see in the Buffalo Bills games, I actually sell those. I develop marketing plans online for them. So those targeted ads that follow you around on your computer, Hulu ads, Netflix ads, all those different components to make a marketing campaign. So the first 2 years was hard just getting used to it. And then I started to build a pretty big client base and I loved what I was doing. I mean, I could start in the morning going to a meeting with like Labatt Blue Beer, building the campaign for them. The next minute I'm going to meet with a Lexus dealer. And then at the end of the day, I'm ending at like a grocery store talking about their marketing campaign. So it's been, I think, the perfect fit for me because I'm on the go all the time. But I've continued to earn respect and build credibility in the industry. So 8 years later, I'm going into my 8th year. It just feels right. And they've been amazing. They supported me through the passing of my father, like a company you'd never believe. So just the respect that I have for them. My boss is an amazing man. He's been just through me the whole way. And the rest of my teammates, I am very grateful for the opportunity to continue to work for them. And I think it's where I'm going to be for a little bit.
Last question for you, Leah. You know, so as you just laid out very eloquently, you know, you've been pretty successful there within the television marketing industry. You're an on-the-go person. We saw you a couple months ago at the Wildcat Golf Classic. Thank you for coming out and supporting.
Absolutely.
You know, our women's basketball staff led by Jennifer Banker has just been extremely complimentary of you and the role that you've taken on as an alum with our program and been super supportive of everything that they've been doing. You know, what does that mean to you? You know, why is it important to you to be supportive of the program?
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate Jen saying that. And I think that, first of all, the size of Daemen really shows because I think, I mean, I maintained a relationship with so many people, coaches, employees, teachers, teammates. And it's just, it really is a family school. You go in there and you make friends that last for a lifetime. And that's the truth. I see the past teammates I've had at Daemen regularly, and to be able to meet a coach that I didn't experience through my career, and for her to accept me with open arms and to really bring me in and try to involve me as much as possible was such a compliment. And her and her teammates have been just wonderful, wanting the alumni to get involved. And we've tried hard to make sure that alumni program and the alumni game has been built back up, because it did get lost a little bit with the transition with the different, I mean, Daemen's just gone through a lot of transition over the past years. So it means a lot to hear that. And I'm absolutely a huge supporter of the Daemen women's basketball program. I still am, and I will be for a long time, just because I think you guys really do shape lives for the girls on the team. And it's going to be an experience that they're going to remember for a long time. So if there's anything I can do to help, I'm absolutely open to that.
Fantastic. Well, Leah, we wish you the more continued success there in Rochester, and again, appreciate you taking some time to catch up with me today.
Thank you so much. It was good to see you too, Mike.
Likewise. All right, Leah.
All right. I'll talk to you.